Hey guys, welcome back. Let's take a look at this video over here on a concept called VLAN Trunking Protocol, or VTP. It is a protocol that doesn't do too much, but it does ease a little bit of your configuration part in a switched environment. VLAN Trunking Protocol, VTP, basically allows you the ability to manage your VLAN creation. If you want to make any edits to it or deletion from a central location. That's the only thing that VLAN trunking protocol helps you in. So rather than creating the VLANs on each and every device, remember in the previous example, I was showing you that I had two switches and each switch had two VLANs on it. You had VLAN 10 and you had VLAN 20 over here. VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 over here. I had to create the VLANs manually on switch 1 and manually on switch 2. So rather than creating the VLANs manually on the two switches, I can have a central device known as the VLAN trunking protocol, or VTP server. Any VLANs that I create on the VTP server will automatically be propagated to the other device. The other device, I'll set it up as a VTP client. So that's what this whole video is all about. Very simple. We'll take a look at what VTP brings to the table, the VTP overview, which I've given you kinda, and then we'll take a look at the VTP modes, which is the server mode, the client mode. There's another mode called the transparent mode. I'll discuss that. Short video, simple, nothing like the previous videos that we've just gone through in terms of the switching. So what does VTP do? It is a Cisco Layer 2 protocol that allows you the ability to manage your addition, deletion, or renaming of the VLANs on a network-wide basis from a central location. All right. So in terms of the administration, in terms of VLANs, is a little easier. Just the creation of the VLANs. You still need to go to the individual ports on the switches and assign the ports to the VLANs, but in terms of creating it or deleting it, you can do it in a central location. All right. So when you configure a new VLAN on a VTP server, the VLAN will be distributed or propagated to all the other devices. The other devices will be generally the clients. So that's the only thing that really helps. Not that big of a deal. VTP is a Cisco proprietary protocol, so it's only available on the Cisco switches. So that's another thing that you need to keep in mind. So again, what did we gather from here? VTP does ease a little bit of my configuration, but not a lot. It's just for the purpose of creation or deletion of VLAN. What do I mean by that? Just make sure I put this into context. Let's say I had two switches or multiple switches. Let's say we have three switches. Switch 1, switch 2, switch 3. So I have three switches over here. All right, and I want to be able to create and assign ports to, let's say, two VLANs. Let's say VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. And I have ports for VLAN 10 and 20 on all the three switches. All right. When I set up VTP, let's say I set this guy up as my VTP server, and these are my VTP clients. Now, I have the VTP clients over here. This is my VTP server. I will go on to my VTP server and I will create my VLANs by using the VLAN command, VLAN 10, VLAN 20. As soon as I create that, I will now have VLAN 10 and 20 over here. I'll have VLAN 10 and 20 over here. That's the assistance that I get. I don't need to create the VLAN 10 and 20 on switch 2 or switch 3. I still need to go to switch 2 and assign these ports to VLAN 10, assign these ports to VLAN 10. I still need to go to switch 2, assign these ports to VLAN 20, assign these ports to VLAN 20. Hope you guys understand that. So it's not really giving you a big advantage in terms of the configuration. Yes, it does help in the sense that I don't need to create the VLANs on the other switches. Now that we have taken a look at it, let's go ahead and take a look at the 3 different modes of VTP. All right, we've taken a look at 2 of the modes already. We have taken a look at your server mode. That's where you create all your VLANs. Client mode is where you cannot create any VLANs. So it's like a switch that can do everything but except for creation of the VLANs. So all the VLANs will be centrally managed. So if you want the creation of the VLANs to be done on a particular switch in your network, you do have the ability to set that up as a VTP server. The rest of the switches I'm going to set up as clients. So this is where you create the VLANs, delete the VLANs, all the changes are done on the server. This is the switch that is going to act as your the management switch. These switches, let's say switch 2 and switch 3, I don't want them to do any of the creation. So all the creations will be done over here. They will automatically be created on switch 2 and switch 3. Once the VLANs are propagated, I still need to go to the ports on switch 2 and switch 3 and assign the ports to the VLANs. So it's just really creation of the VLANs, or if you want to delete a VLAN maybe at a later stage, you do have the ability to centrally do it. So that takes care of the server mode and the client mode. What is this third mode, transparent mode? Let's say you have a switch in the middle, which is maybe a switch for a particular department, which is connecting to switch 2, but behind switch 4 is another switch which is part of the same VTP setup. So what's happening over here is I don't have a direct connection between my VTP server. I have a client which will propagate the creation, and I have another client, but in the middle I have one switch that is not participating in VTP. I don't want it to propagate any of the VLANs that I create over here to any other switches. This is like an independent switch. All right. So if that's the case, I don't want the VLANs from here to go anywhere either. But at the same time, what I do want to happen is I want the VLANs that were created on the server to propagate to switch 2. Although switch 4 receives it and doesn't do anything with the VLANs, I want switch 4 to be able to pass through those VLANs to switch 5 so switch 5 can create it. All right. So for example, over here I created VLAN 10, 20, and let's say 40, 50, and 60. They would be created over here as well automatically. They would be created over here automatically. When they pass to switch 4, switch 4 will not create 40, 50, 60. It has 10, 20. I manually created them 10, 20, and 30. But switch 4 will pass the information if it is in what mode? In VTP transparent mode. So it allows you the ability to pass the VLANs across to a client, so I can have 10, 20, 40, 50, and 60 created over here. So the transparent neither sends or receives any VLANs from the VTP server, but at the same time, it will pass a VTP message to a downstream switch that might be a client. So it does not stop the propagation of the VLAN creation. Having said that, it does not process it. It does not process the creation of the VLANs locally. So it's an independent switch in your environment, maybe a department that does not want to be managed centrally. All right, that's what a VTP transparent mode does. And I've documented that for you guys on here. VLAN trunking protocol or VTP server mode is the default VTP mode for all Catalyst switches. At least one server is required in a VTP domain to propagate the creation of, you create the VLANs and propagate it to the devices. We can create, add, delete VLANs of a VTP server in a switch, which is in VTP server mode, and change the VLAN information in a VTP server. Changes, whatever you make over here in the server mode, are advertised to the entire VTP domain. All right. Now, when I advertise it, although the clients will process it, the transparent devices will take it, don't process it, but forward it. So they won't stop the propagation, but at the same time, they will not use that information for themselves. VTP clients are the devices that basically are going to listen for the VTP advertisements, create the VLANs. They themselves cannot create any VLANs. So any VLANs that once you set up a device as a VTP client, you lose the capability of creating what? What? Creating, adding, not add, I would say edit. Create and add are the same thing. Create, edit, or delete VLANs in a VTP, on a VTP client. So, all right. So again, this is a switch that will be managed from the VTP server. Having said that, again, I just want to make sure you understand that although I cannot create the VLANs over here, I'll take the VLANs from my VTP server. So let's say this is my VTP server. I will not be able to create any VLANs over here, but at the same time, let's say these VLANs were created on the VTP server, they're propagated over here. I still need to go and assign the ports to the appropriate VLAN on that device. So it's not like I cannot do any configurations on that VTP client. It's just the VLAN portion I cannot do. All right. With that in mind, the last one, which we also discussed, is the transparent mode, which is simple. It's a switch that's an independent switch. It will not participate in the VTP setup, but at the same time, it will receive the VTP advertisements and forward it to other switches maybe connected to the other trunks. So it's basically an independent switch which does not stop the flow of the VTP advertisements. It does not process it, but it passes them through. All right, that's your VTP transparent mode. Not too much that you need to do with it, and personally, I don't think that is as important, because nowadays most of the times you just create the VLANs. It's just using one line. For example, if I have to create 5 VLANs, copy paste it, it's not that big of a deal. The actual assignment of the VLANs still needs to be done on the switches. So this one line would create my 4 VLANs. I'll just copy paste it on the different switches. But if you do want to centrally manage it so that other switches cannot create it, then you set up the VTP setup like that. All right. So that's your VTP setup. Now in the next video, we're actually going to be doing a lab that will show you the way a MAC